with Spirit of Matter. And today's episode is actually about the ingress of an asteroid named athena to Scorpio. And this is a shout out to Dima, an Israeli teacher who noticed that before me and inspired me to do this episode. So, current planets for today. We have the ascendant in midheaven ruled by Jupiter, with Jupiter in the third house in Taurus, 8 degrees. Moon, 13 degrees Aquarius, sextile in Mercury, 13 degrees Sagittarius, and trining Venus in 12 degrees Libra. I know some people chose this election for kind of making a Venus talisman. You really had to make sure Venus is not on the 11th degree, and that you isolated Mars from like the election, because Mars is combust. And the bigger deal, a lot of people made talismans for what they call Mars Kazemi. Just a little bit of a personal story. I knew that Mars was combust because I listened to Ksenia Moore that happened to talk about it a while ago. And Mars combust, it just means that Mars is closer to the sun, so it's a hotter temperature. And it's not the lovey-dovey Cassimi where Mars is just getting an upgrade from the sun. Okay, so Mars is definitely born again in Scorpio, but it is combust. And unfortunately, Sun is ruling my sixth house, and yesterday we lost one of our puppies. So, one of our kittens. So I was working in the garden and Mars was doing its thing, and I'm like physically active and doing things, and I planted garlic actually. But one of the kittens got out and he never came back, and there are problems of predators in the area. So if you did the talisman, or if you bought a talisman, if you're thinking about a talisman of Mars conjunction Sun or Mars combust, please understand this is not a Mars Kazemi, this is a Mars combust. It can be the case that in talismanic material you will actually get kind of like an antidote, because we see it with malefics, but you want to take it into account and you want to not treat it like a Mars Kazemi. It's not the beginner talisman. And like if you did one and you think that it may have caused some stuff, then according to your own perception or method, perhaps it is good to treat it as combust and decide if you want to pursue on with the talisman, or with purchasing any such talisman. So just saying, although it can be that if you work with the talismanic material, you would get other effects. So just saying, it's not the Cassini Mars. Now that we've got all of these issues, it's Sunday with Sun conjuncting Mars that I just talked about in the 9th house, and Venus hour. We talked about Venus in Libra. And again, people doing Venus in Libra talisman, Venus is co-present with Ketu in Libra. I'm not saying that you can't mitigate this, but I want you to pay attention to this. Again, I'm not a professional magician, just an astrologer that looks at these things and knows a tiny bit about the astrological elections. So when Venus is conjoining Ketu, she will join Ketu on the 22nd degree of Libra. It's the degree of to kill and be killed by Nicola Stoyanovich. Not the conjunction I'm looking forward to. So if anything, then perhaps using Venus materia from Libra in other times. I know the IRN by Sphere and Sundry kind of sold out. That is good, another approach, but I would very highly suggest to reconsider doing anything magical with Venus in Libra, even when she's far from Ketu. She is co-present with Ketu. It's not the usual Venus in Libra. And she has other things to do. It doesn't mean you wouldn't want a talisman, but you want to be informed. So, that's it. Now for the ingress of Pallas Athena to Scorpio. So the ingress was actually today, Sunday. And yesterday the moon was going, or as the moon ingressed into Aquarius, it was squaring Pallas Athena, still from Libra. And Pallas Athena ingressed into Scorpio while still squaring, separating from square to Pluto in Capricorn, and exactly trining Saturn in Pisces. So who is this Pallas Athena? Okay, and I'll tell you the story that I told Dima today, and that is I woke up feeling mad. Okay, I was joking about, yeah, but I won't say it here. Like, I woke up mad. I woke up mad, and I definitely said everything that I wanted to say to the people that I didn't dare to speak in the way that is the most extreme way that I could say and deliver the message. I woke up mad. And then I was like, the heck is going on? I mean, I know we lost one of our kittens. Of course, it's making me angry. But the things that I were angry about, the things that I was speaking about, this was not like it was not a doggone thing. It was a life or death issue. It was genuine, righteous anger that was genuinely true and genuinely proportional to what I was angry at. Okay, so it wasn't like I was triggered and took it out on somebody else. But I was like, what's happening in the stars? Because Mars has been combust with the sun. Like, it's been that way, and it's been that way for 3 days. There shouldn't be no reason and now the 26th degree is actually a Taurus degree. So there shouldn't be no reason that I would get particularly mad in ways that I wasn't 2 days ago when I was working in my garden, okay? And grieving is not necessarily mad. So it's like, what's happening? And I looked at the stars, and I actually didn't see anything because Venus is about to move. I think she already moved from the 11th degree where she was yesterday. So there really was no reason. And I was like, okay, there's nothing new in the sky in terms of the planets. And I didn't have time to check it. And then after a while ago, I went on Facebook and I saw Dima's post. It was like, oh, Pallas Athena ingressed into Scorpio. And I'm like, damn. I got it. That was my mood because it happened today. So who is Pallas Athena? Okay, Pallas Athena is basically, we would kind of associate her with the righteous feminist. Okay, the woman that fights for what she believes is true. But I also want to talk about the more shade side that she has. So let's do a little study live with me so you'll get a bit more about Pallas Athena astrology. Aside of her she committed towards Algol by not believing Medusa Gorgon, that she was basically assaulted, she was raped. So Pallas Athena, astrology. Yes. So just to get a kind of snippet from Patricia Rogers, astrology.com. Pallas represents your talents in art, wisdom, defense, okay? Intuition, justice, and artisan endeavors. So, Pallas shows you are a master at negotiation and artfully making a win-win situation, as well as an offer people can't refuse. In Scorpio, it's more like making an offer somebody can't refuse, like a mafia. It's like a mobster energy, but a righteous mobster. It's kind of like the mobster against the mobsters. But what's important here is that Pallas Athena was a very beautiful woman, and she believed she was beautiful, she was righteous, and she believed she's all that. And then came Medusa Gorgon, which was very sensual, very beautiful, and challenged her. So what happened to Medusa Gorgon, that unfortunately she was raped by, I think it was Poseidon, what we associate with Neptune today, and she wasn't believed. okay? Because Pallas accused her of seducing Poseidon. Well, in fact, Medusa Gorgon was raped by Poseidon, okay? And so Medusa Gorgon wasn't believed, and eventually I think it was Pallas Athena that sent out to slay her for supposedly cheating, okay, for supposedly being the third party in the relationship, okay? This is what you need to remember this when you're working with Medusa Gorgon, okay? Especially if you're a married man, married woman, and you suspect there is a third other, you need to be very kind with that third other, or if they exist, or even if they don't exist, because the Medusa story is a story about willing consent, okay? It doesn't mean that things are as extreme. It doesn't mean that people don't cheat on people. It doesn't mean that there are no third parties that are, But the thing is that you need to know the deities when you work with them magically, because Medusa Gorgon basically had a problem of willing consent, and she was not believed, and then she was beheaded. Okay, so she was raped, she wasn't believed, she was beheaded, and her head was used as a talisman because her head turned to snakes. Okay, and depending on the interpretation, it's usually believed that Pallas Athena punished her and turned her head into snakes. Okay, and the thing is, there is this Indian story about the god Indra. And the god Indra, he also had this supposed punishment where he had vulvas around his body, and he was basically rapist. So he was raping someone, and the punishment, because he was raping, was that he will have his whole body filled with vulva. I thank to Caitlin Kapok for mentioning it and not listening to Austin because he told her not to publish this. But this is true. So you need to know that, because if you work magically with an entity, you need to know the story. If somebody hides something from you because it's not PC, it affects your magical work. And so Indra basically got a punishment. It's like, oh, you want pussy so much, sozusagen, okay, that you will get flowers, flowers blooming on your skin. And that was his punishment, sort of like to shame him for rape, okay? And so Pallas Athena, she turned, what is a snake? It's like the penis, okay? She turned the head of Medusa Gorgon to snakes, kind of like to punish her. Like, oh, you wanted penis so much, here you will get hair of snakes. But Medusa, okay, she wasn't rapist. She wasn't sexually violating the boundaries of a man, because this was just not her story. She wasn't Indra. So the punishment is not believable, but the fact is she was later murdered, and her head became a talisman. And the rage of Medusa Gorgon, because she wasn't believed, and she was punished for something that happened to her, it was such rage that people would look at her and they would be turned into stone. So you understand? And if you know the Indra story, you also understand why did Pallas Athena turn the head of Medusa Gorgon into snake. So this is a very shady part in Pallas Athena, because she was sure that Medusa Gorgon is so attractive, is so this, she uses her sensuality, and Medusa Gorgon was proud of her beauty, and she was sure that the proud woman, this conceitful woman, is basically using her sexuality to seduce, and so on and so forth. And by the way, people who genuinely are sexually abused in their childhood, it can either go to being avoidance of anything sexual, or the mixture of being sexual and perhaps seeing the only power that you have as a sexual power, or a combination of the two, or an attempt to try to regain your sensuality. For example, Marilyn Monroe was sexually abused in her childhood, and we saw she was a sex symbol, okay? And she always said sensuality is good, sensuality is, but actually her first orgasm she had when she was around 30 or something like that, was the first time she managed to have an orgasm after the assault. And while she was a sex symbol to the world, she did not manage to achieve an orgasm. It's not an achievement, but to experience an orgasm herself, because she was still coping with the result of of that. Now, Pallas Athena had no idea what it is. But Medusa Gorgon, if we understand, if we look at the story, there is reason to believe that Medusa Gorgon was abused even in childhood. Because if she wasn't this kind of like proud in her power, proud in her sexuality, proud in her beauty, it's very likely she was abused even in her childhood, and then Poseidon comes and rapes her again. And because Poseidon was with Pallas Athena, then Pallas Athena thought that she was a cheat and basically accused Medusa Gorgon, okay, and punished her like Indra was punished, to make her hair into snakes. Like, oh, you want penis so much, look what you get. But this is the root cause, and this is the shade of Pallas Athena, because Pallas Athena was a righteous leader. But because she didn't understand the worst atrocities, that is basically ritual abuse, sexual assault of children, because it starts at childhood, and regardless of the gender, children up until age 12 hurt in similar rates. Unfortunately, that they're hurt. It's not the and very likely also after age 12, but because of societal structure, then men have less legitimacy to talk about what happened to them. And the thing is that Pallas Athena was blind to the whole issue of sexual assault. Okay, or rape and murder, basically. Okay, and now when Pallas Athena enters Scorpio, she enters the land of atrocities, because in Scorpio, if she comes to be not just an artist or a skilled person or beautiful person, but also a righteous person, if she comes, let's say, to advance what is right and to speak for the people, to be the woman warrior, then if she is blind to women who have been sexually assaulted, even if she was sexually harassed herself, okay, because her shade was that she mistreated Medusa Gorgon. Okay, she thought Medusa Gorgon wanted a rape. You get this? And so this makes her a bit less effective when it comes to addressing the actual issues of Scorpio. And Scorpio is ruled by Mars, which rules the penis. It's also ruling our psychological crises, regeneration, the deep well. It's basically, if Medusa Gorgon went through a trauma, then the psychological impact and also the healing and regeneration following trauma is the Scorpio pole. Okay, if Taurus is the sensuality, Scorpio is kind of like when something is, Mars is broken, things like when a soul breaks or soul murder, unfortunately is related to rape. Okay, but not only, it's also the soul that is broken of a veteran that was not listened to, men that are raped in the army. War crime is not just women being raped, it's men being raped even in the army by their own friends, in their own unit, serving their own country. Like, we don't even talk war before they begin to experience it. And of course, women as well. And so, Pallas Athena, she is good to, let's say, when it comes to, let's say, women's rights. The Pallas Athena is very good to say, well, why aren't there enough women in the parliament, which is important? Or why can't women vote, which is important? Which is not good is at addressing at those women that, let's say, a woman has been through sexual assault, and it affected her, that she either works too much or constantly have to be on the move, and she's not effective because of it. She can get a wound herself or so, or she cannot get out of bed. Okay, then Pallas Athena would be like, why aren't there enough women in men's position? Which is true. But about these women that can't really do anything right now, effectively, she would be like, oh, they're lazy. They don't want to work. They're saying, oh, poor me. They're putting themselves as victims. This is where she has her shade. And two things can happen. One, Pallas Athena gets informed. but through a crisis. Okay, because this is Scorpio. Pallas Athena gets informed, and it can be Pallas Athena embodying the wisdom of Scorpio, and then kind of transforming and changing and actually fighting for what's right, but with venom. Okay, it's kind of like being Pallas Athena becomes the representative of Medusa Gorgon, um, after being informed in what actually happened. And so her repentance comes as she's now advocate for this. This is one thing. The other thing that happens is that we're going to see all this kind of activism for women's rights that does not take into account the effects of sexual assault, psychic attack, or the premonitions. Okay, veterans have premonitions. I knew about what's going to happen in October from veterans. I knew. I didn't know what, I didn't know when, but I felt this channeling, taking me to my mother, watering the yard way too much, like what is happening, balancing me. So I looked at the trees and they seemed so real, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, I was surrounded also by veterans that perhaps because of trauma, they were assaulting. And we did feel some of the things that were happening, the atrocities, energetically. Okay, we feel some of that, and I noticed that this happens, and so and this is something that happens to men too. It's not only women. It's not only women. Okay, that they feel these things on their body and so on, and don't have any validation for it. So this thing is that in this path, Pallas Athena can either go into this position where she tries to be righteous and beautiful and just, but she's just uninformed and she makes mistakes that put her as the performer of atrocities. Because she doesn't understand the effects of those crimes, of those war crimes, okay? And getting informed through a crisis is not, God forbid, if something happens to her, something can be in the worst cases. But getting informed is something that can be that she's being criticized herself. Okay? She is squaring Pluto. And so, but on the other hand, on the more lit side, but not in a light way, kind of like enlightened, sozusagen, then she can actually become informed by entering the land of Scorpio, and she's like, oh, there is this injustice involved with violation of sexual boundaries, with war crimes, with this, with that, and actually be correct and actually do good. Okay? Like, we really don't know where this can go. And Mars is combust with the sun, so Mars is venomous, and so she can be very venomous. And very venomous towards people. There could be a lot of clash that she's involved in, because different archetypes of this Pallas Athena will show on the mundane world. Okay? And so different people believing that they are right can clash with one another, and they will all have this righteous rage. Okay? So this is another thing that can happen. Asteroid of wisdom, goddess of war, victory, craft, and wisdom. Her birth represents a strong identification as daddy's girl and the warrior. Okay. She's said to have been born from a father Zeus head in full armor. Was considered to be the patroness for heroes of ancient times, such as Hercules, and wore Medusa's head on her breastplate after helping Perseus kill her. So that's a myth for another time. Okay, so this is where she basically kills a woman that said, I was raped, and uses her head as a pendant. Okay, so this is how Pallas Athena was a satire of herself, in the sense that she slayed the wronged dragon. And this is something we need to remember about Pallas Athena. Pallas Athena can be the one who slays the wrong dragon. Okay? And Pallas Athena in our chart, while it can be where we are aspiring for justice, aspiring for this, aspiring for that, it can also be where we slay the wrong dragon, and we need to be aware and that our prejudice over the situation can be problematic, okay? And so for Pallas Athena and Scorpio, she can both be the actual informed, changed, transformed goddess that advocates for the cases of Medusa Gorgon by having to understand, oh, I didn't get this, I didn't get that. Alternatively, she can be the one who slays the wrong dragon. Okay, she can be the one who literally is helping the rapist to kill the woman who was raped. Okay, and that can happen in many ways. That can happen by following procedures. That can happen by wanting to, kind of like following procedural justice, but not actually seeing the person. Procedural justice was a big issue in the Me Too era, where you couldn't get justice with procedural justice towards victims of sexual assault and harassment. Yeah? And so if you followed procedural justice as a woman, you would be playing the role of Pallas Athena, or basically actively raping and killing and brutally slaughtering and beheading a person who dare to speak so that they can heal. Okay, sex chakra, throat chakra. You understand that? Okay? And so Pallas Athena here can be the representative. In Libra, it was more the concern that she will do this procedural justice thing. In Scorpio, she could literally be the person who's slaughtering the wrong dragon, simply put. And so Pallas Athena is in for a transformation. So think about the women in Harvard that says, oh, rape is okay if it is for liberation of a nation. Okay? These are those figures that could be this Pallas Athena going through a crisis of being informed. Or the people who said, oh, we don't know if there is evidence for the rape and ta. Okay, granted they were not consciously perpetuating, stuff. Logically, what they were asking for as evidence, it would be more humane to nuke them when they are within range, because then you just poof out of the world, and not to give them the evidence that would convince them according to their own epistemic standards for empiricism, okay? For their own standards to what is evidence. Because the only way that they would believe is that if that was done to them, not even to someone close to them, they wouldn't believe that either, probably. And this is inhumane. It is more humane to nuke them and have a forest grow that's concentrated all people together, for they are within range. So when they are within range, they don't going through the horrid atrocity of people who are not within range, for the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, for example. And then to nuke them, they just poof out. And in such case, it's more humane than to convince them that there was rape. Okay? And so this whole conversation is meta. And now I want you to take a look at the chart, because this is going to show up in different ways in your own life. On a mundane level, I said, okay, there's a lot of Xena the warriors, which are very beautiful and righteous women who genuinely care and believe that they are doing the right thing, fighting each other, some of them slaughtering the wrong dragon. You think about the women in Harvard that says it's okay to rape, and it's the most humane thing would be to nuke them. Because they write articles about it, they support the discourse, they change the consciousness of people, they finance this, okay, they promise grants to people who think like that. It is more than just saying a word. There's something behind this word, and they may or may not get their grants from certain organizations. So could you be a woman who disagrees with them in academia is also a big question, okay, big taboos. But for me, I bring this an example because Scorpio is my ninth house, and ninth house is academia, and I got Pluto there, which is shedding light on die Akademie Baumhole sozusagen, or the religious Baumhole, or the worldview Baumhole, or the scientific endeavors as well, or international relations and so on and so forth. But I want to talk about the personal. Okay, how is this ingress going to affect you personally? Okay, so first thing you need to know, Pallas Athena is now squaring Pluto, trining Saturn, and she's going from the square to the sextile with Pluto, okay? But from the trine to the square with Saturn. I'm going to say it again, it's true to everyone, to all the ascendants. Pallas Athena is going from the square with Pluto and trine to Saturn, that rules Pluto, to the sextile with Pluto and square to Saturn that rules Pluto and is in Pisces. And that means that if you think about Pluto as the guest in the Capricorn house and Saturn as, kind of like the patriarch of the plot, which is now in the ocean, because now in Pisces, then Pallas Athena is not okay with the guest, but she's cool with the patriarch, while towards the end of this transformation, she's going to be very okay with the guest, but is not cool with the patriarch. Okay? So that is her transit. We're going to also see it on a mundane level. It can express itself as people are saying, oh, the doctors, the psychologists, the healers, Saturn in Pisces, the people who create these organizations that heal the world, they are blessed people, they're great people, so good that we have these structures in life. But look at the people, look at the plutocrats. How come people can't get their medical aid? How come people can't get their Pfizer shot, which is going to cause them infertility, which is going to cause them neurological diseases, and so on and so forth. And so it's like this guest, this Pluto, it's like, oh, the plutocrats, how terrible the plutocrats. And I want to tell you a story from around 2008, 2009, okay? I was working in a place that was selling holistic healing packages for the HMO clients, okay? And I believed in holistic, like I believe in its acupuncture and this and that. I believe that we need to be doing that too, not just, taking a pill or, seeing our doctor for 5 minutes and that's it. So I believed in the product and I was very happy that I was put there. And my previous manager put me there because she was like, she's going to believe in the product she's going to sell. Okay? Because when I didn't believe in something, my body would just shut down. And I would not take even the money that I supposedly deserved, because I would not even be able to show up. And so she put me there. And I was getting angry because I heard that the HMO clerks were not transferring clients to the doctors, the holistic doctors. And I was so mad. I was like, why are they stopping clients from getting service that their insurance grants them? And then I spoke with one of these clerks, and she told me, she said, Shirley, people get there, they're in their 70s, in their 80s, sometimes in their 90s. And what happens is that the doctor doesn't care about their health. They're just there to market something that they pay extra for, and they won't let them leave the room without them signing on a package of these, sessions that they might not even show up for, and they pay for it. So I'm like, I don't want that. And so this is exactly what Pallas Athena is going through right now. At first, it's like, oh, these plutocrats are horrid. They're this, they're that, we're mad at them. And then, when it comes to be, with the transformation, it's like, oh, these plutocrats were right. They were trying to save people from being scammed. Okay, you get that. And that is a part of what Pallas Athena is going to go through in Scorpio. Right now, whoever is the visitor, the person that she runs at the Capricorn house, which is our institutions, which is some clerks of our welfare, the people of UNRWA, or all these people are like, why are they not? And I even heard a story today where someone who lives in the Shomron, which is also settlements area. And she said, why weren't we evicted? People from the north were evicted. People from the south were evicted. Why weren't we evicted? Why do I have to stay home? And I don't even deserve a whole hospitalization because I live alone. And I just had to inform her that these people are not being evicted to a shelter. They're being evicted to 15-minute cities, ghettos, to be exterminated like in the Holocaust. And there's nothing to be jealous of them. And it's not going to be even their own homes. They're going to be asked to pay rent for these places. And then they say that there is a COVID spread because they're poisoning them. And it's not something, and she's all right in her desire to receive assistance. But actually, she should be thankful that these guys leave her alone. And while she's absolutely right to want help, this is not the help that is given to people. Okay? This is exactly the issue. Because Pallas Athena thinks that Saturn in Pisces is the daddy. Oh, they're going to help me. They're going to this. They're going to that. Why is this plutocrat in this Capricorn house in the institution does not allow me to go there? It's like, because they're saving your life. Okay? Because they can't do anything other than to keep you from going to this place where you're told you're going to heal, but you're actually going to die. And they don't have any other solutions. And they need to make a living themselves too. So, now, when it comes to your personal life. So let's begin with the ascendant. Ascendant Pisces, this is happening in your 9th house. So there's going to be a certain either figure in your 9th house, or you're going to play that righteous figure where it has to do with the academia, with ideas, with religion, with international travel or international relations. Okay, it's like the abroad part of your chart or your worldview, where there's going to be a righteous rage where you're going to think that, oh, the people at the top, okay, of the healing system, or maybe it's you, okay, maybe you are a healer and you think like, I'm doing good to people. Why are they stopping me from doing good to people? You don't know that you're cooperating with a very crooked system. And here it's going to affect your worldview. You're going to go from having a crisis with the plutocrats to actually being cool with the plutocrats, but not cool with the way that the patriarchs affect your life path, because you're Pisces. This is 1st house, and even your very physical body. Okay? If something Saturn in your 1st house is your body, is you. It's your body. So to you, it can be something to do with international relations, arguments around justice, who is right, who is wrong. You want to hold the space for, and this is also a note to self here. You want to hold the space for thinking, am I slaying the wrong dragon in this house? When it comes to your worldview, you think about the people who are, let's say, talking about anti-Semitism or Islamophobia or whatnot, and whereas it's like, well, it's 2030 agenda. They basically want to exterminate the entire humanity. They don't care which face eugenics have. They just want to exterminate most people, and they will pull up cards like from the clown, and that's it. Okay. Whereas towards the end of it, you could be realizing that, oh, their eugenics perspective is actually racist. And so it's the racism that affects their ability to see nature and not look at biodiversity, which is actually good for people. And they're looking at eugenics or blood purification or bloodline purification. Okay, so this is worldview stuff. Something in your worldview, something in your the finger of blame is going to shift through the passage of Pallas Athena in Scorpio. Ascendant Aries. So you are ruled by Mars, which is ruling Pallas Athena. And This is happening in your 8th house. For you, you are looking at investments not from the place Pisces is looking at. Pisces is like, well, the world, the ideology, the religion, the worldview, the perception, traveling, and so on and so forth. You are genuinely looking at your intergenerational wealth and the traumas that you and your ancestors swipe under the rug. Okay, so Pallas Athena is going to pop. It can be your accountant. It could be your relation to your accountant. But it can also mean that you might be tempted to slay the wrong dragon. Okay? Or it can be two dragons. And in the beginning, you do need to slay the dragon, but are you slaying the right dragon? And because the shade of Pallas Athena was basically how she saw Medusa Gorgon as Indra, because she was putting the veil of ignorance. Okay, she was being logical. They said, oh, this woman wants penis so much, I will turn her hair into snakes. It's like, but she was not a rapist. Ah! Okay? She's not Indra. Algo is not Indra. Medusa Gorgon is not Indra. You just slayed the victim. You slayed the victim. Okay, and this can happen to each and every one of us. And in Scorpio, it really is as intense. So we really have to kind of like set intention to tend to the right things and be cautious, because we're gonna have the tendency to slay the wrong dragon, and she can be lethal. So for you, it's coming up as generational wealth. It's coming up as it can be arguments about inheritance. Okay, it can be your 401k. Okay, it can be if you're invested in the weapon industry. Okay, it can be something like that where you think, I got the person, I got this, I'm gonna slay that, I'm gonna sever ties, I'm gonna stop doing that, I'm gonna do something else. And it's venomous because it bugs you. You want to do the right thing, but there can be a situation where you have aimed your aggression at the wrong person. Okay, each and every one of us needs to be careful. For you, it really is like, it's the 8th house. It's affecting your savings. It's affecting, where are you, kind of stopping the water. For income of somebody, or kind of pulling out on an investment or putting in an investment that is actually not useful, and so on and so forth. So you have a correct rage. It's just that you need to be angry at the right person at the right time with the right people. Okay, Pallas Athena had the correct rate. She was right to be angry that her husband cheated on her. Okay? She was not right to be angry at Medusa Gorgon that tells her, I didn't want this. I didn't want this. I didn't invite this. And she killed her. Thinking that, oh, it's like Indra. It's like the story of Indra. But Indra was rapist. Medusa Gorgon was not. Okay? And so she had the righteous right. It's like, it's okay to be angry that your husband cheats on you, but in her blindness, she did not see that she's basically killing with her husband who cheated on her, the third party. It's like, if your husband is cheating on you, why are you leaving him alive and killing Medusa Gorgon? Not that you should kill both, but it's kind of like, this is your husband. What's a third party to do with that? He could be fooling her. He could be not raping her. He could be telling her, well, listen, I'm not married. He could be doing astral projection to her. And she think, oh, maybe it is my twin flame. At around like 2 years ago, I remember somebody suddenly came into my life, and I'm like, is it this person? Because they got her. They know. Okay, but this is something that happens. Okay, it's not like a willing consent stuff, like the horde stuff that happened to Medusa Gorgon, but it's like he could be doing a million things that's not being seduced by a third party. And you're thinking all this stuff, all these whore, all these this, all these that. Oh, look at your freaking husband. You're right to be angry at being mistreated, but you're slaying the wrong dragon. Here you're really slaying someone. And so you want to be very cautious. You see, your anger is correct, but your discernment is not. Your anger is correct. Your discernment is also not to self, okay? To everyone. Because we all have this philosophy somewhere. So, ascendant Taurus. This is happening in your 7th house. And so Pallastina going through your 7th house, for you, unlike Pallastina with the original story of Medusa Gorgon, you could be actually angry at your partner for something, or your partner angry at you for something that you didn't do. Okay? So, in this case, you could either your partner is angry at you, and like it wasn't your fault. You might have been the victim in the situation, or you are angry at your partner. Okay, either way, you might be attracted to significant others, enemies, and partners. Okay, because partners, enemies are also partners. Okay, you need to understand that. This is 7th house. If you fight with your partner, you know that they are enemy right now, okay, because they're very close. And so this is the essence of the 7th house, and you need to understand that while you may have intimacy, you might be attracted to this righteous rage because you want someone who believes in what you believe, or is acting, or is being righteous as a partner. You're looking for the virtue of righteousness as a partner when Pallastina is going through this 7th house. But you might slay the wrong dragon as a couple. So it might be you're falsely accusing your partner falsely accusing you, or you both are just falsely accusing somebody outside of your relationship. Because this is also how partners become friends, by having an outside enemy. This is also 7th house, okay? So again, your anger is right, but the discernment of what is actually going on, and the being informed part is basically you're not informed about the essence of the wound that you're trying to tend to. Okay, if let's say it's cheating or betrayal, then you think, oh, cheating happens because some third party seduces someone. While in fact, it can happen because of a million other reasons. It can happen that your partner genuinely loves you and they did something astral, and nobody's necessarily to blame. Okay, and you're right that you're angry, but it's like, this is the essence of what happens, and nobody's lying to you. Okay, granted, it is not, God forbid, a willing consent thing. It's not ingrained in Pallastina for that to be a willing consent. It's just that she slays the wrong dragon. Okay, or your partner. Let's say your partner and you go to a communication course, and your partner wants to treat your relationship. They go to communication course, and they learn about how men communicate and how women communicate. Okay, and you say something, and they say, oh, because I am a man, I try to solve a problem. I wasn't listening to you. I am sorry. And then because they say, because I am a man, because that's what they were taught, they were trying to communicate better with you, you lash at them. And you say, how dare you speak like that? How dare you, talk about differences in what? You think I'm not as smart as you? You think you're blaming the fact that you're a man, and they were just trying to do right. Okay, you just slay the wrong dragon. This is what they were taught in the course, that men think in terms of solving problems. Okay, that can be the case. Ascendant Gemini. So Ascendant Gemini is happening in your 6th house. Is also the house of pets, the house of enemies, the house of your physical health. This is enemies more at work, okay? It's not like open enemies that is like an intimate encounter. It's an enemy that is more like a colleague at work, or the place where you serve society. And they're just like, you're in a competition, okay? This can also be your employees. And here, it can be the case that something happens to your pet and you slay the wrong dragon. Okay? With the combustion of Mars, I have Pisces ascendant, but Leo is in my 6th house with the combustion of Mars. Immediately, I had like apparent questions like, is it one of the neighbors? Did one of the neighbors do anything? And I'm like, no, why would they? They're just like, no. Okay? And we don't know, but here is the situation where you could get angry at, let's say, some people at work. Take a 6th house. Depending, look where your ruler of the 6th is and where is it transiting, because this will tell you who are you angry at, and your anger is right, but the person that you're angry at might be the wrong person. Okay, so this can be regarding your pet, this can be regarding your physical health. Okay, there could be so there's some argument regarding that, or it could be a doctor or somebody, and you just don't identify the right cause for the injustice in this situation. Okay, and be very wary of the analogies that you make here. So this is health related, and it's affecting your health. Okay, whether it's your pet or not, it's affecting your health. So it could be one of these situations where you're like, why doesn't this doctor let me have the shots, or let me have the ultrasound, or let me have that, and let me have that? And that doctor knows that these shots are going to cause you infertility, and she can't say it. Okay, it's those things. So there's where it can meet you, sozusagen. Ascendant Cancer. So ascendant Cancer, this is in your 5th house. 5th house, children, joy, fertility, creative projects, gamblings, romance. So for you, you might be attracted to someone who is Pallas Athena oriented. Okay, she's kind of like this Pallas Athena girl, and you might be attracted to her, but she might not represent, or both of you might be angry at the wrong person, or she might not, or you might be attracted to her righteousness, but not necessarily, she's just not necessarily actually correct in her observation. Or you might be in this way towards a romantic partner or towards your child. You got to be very wary if any issues of actual, Medusa Gorgon like stories come up in this situation, because you're going to be furious, but you might literally slay the wrong dragon here. You might be believing that you were accused, okay? This is very important. You might be believing that you were accused and you weren't actually accused of anything. And so your response, or your partner, your romantic partner, might be believing that she was accused of something, and you didn't mean her, but now she can't see it, and she can't see it. She just stepped on a trigger, and she can't see it, and she's afraid of you, or something like this. Because and this could be around children as well. So you might trigger your child in this way, or your child might trigger you in this way. And so there is a genuine just rage that needs expression, but the finger of blame here needs to be put on hold, because this is a transit where Pallas Athena is not enough to show you where the finger of blame is. And normally the finger of blame is a structure of many things, okay? And when you see that, then you understand that there's usually not just one core thing that you can intervene. With Pallas Athena and Scorpio, there is a tendency to believe that what is the core of the issue, and when I get to the core of the issue and I nuke it, it's going to be resolved, okay? And it's usually more complicated than that. So this is also to do with your creative projects. and your sense of fun and joy in life. So you might think you're having fun by doing the right thing, and you're literally slaying the wrong dragon. Okay, it's kind of like, oh, this person, I'm gonna put them through this, I'm gonna do that, that they did this, that they did that, and you're like, you just re-victimized the rape victim? Did you really? Okay, and that is, and what good did it do to you? Okay, and that can be very serious thing. And again, all of us regarding of our sign need to hold that as kind of like, okay, we are very likely not slaying the right dragon, and we're very likely mean to the wrong people even. Okay. Ascendant Leo. Ascendant Leo, well, for you this is happening in the 4th house. And so you're going to have these righteous collisions with people in your close family, your parents, you as a parent, ancestral lineage. You might be thinking about your ancestral lineage in a certain way. That the anger is correct. There is something to be angry about, but it's not actually what you think it is and who you think it is that you should put the finger of blame on, and that can create a crisis. Okay, 4th house is also what makes us happy, and so you want to feel happy and safe by slaying the right dragon, but the right dragon is not visible to you right now, and you don't know it. Ascendant Virgo. So Ascendant Virgo, this is happening in your 3rd house, and this is a collision that you have with your siblings, with your neighbors, with your something along your daily routine, transportation. It could also be road rage for you, so be cautious. Okay, this road rage. That is drivers that they kind of try to educate the other drivers by doing maneuvers and stuff like that. And sometimes you just kind of get a person you didn't see that they had a new driver. Okay, I'm not joking. This is something that actually happened. You're like, I'm going to maneuver on them like a sport. My father is like, he's a car engineer, so he's very good with that. So you could be doing something like that, and she's like, oh, that was a new driver. Shit. I really fucked up their life and caused them a trauma. And that driver might decide that they'd never go on the road again. Like, it can genuinely be something that horrid. So you really want to be cautious. It's very gut-like, and with Scorpio we feel like this is right, but this is athena. Okay, she's not right. And this is again a note to self, note to everybody. Wherever you feel like this is right, it might be missing something quite important. Ascendant Libra. So Ascendant Libra, this is in your 2nd house of how you make your money, how you spend your money, and your values. So Pallas Athena, while she invites you to look at your values and be informed, you're actually one of the signs that could be studying about something. That could be because it is skills. So maybe you're developing a skill. Maybe you want to be a social worker, and you're very angry at that woman that tried to avoid your client or the person that you meet from seeing you, and like, why was she doing this whore, this that, this person, this paranoid sick fuck, and then that paranoid sick fuck was trying to get you to not take the children from your client instead of helping your client. And then you find out that you're caught up in a bureaucracy towards the end of the month that requires you to grab the children from the woman that you're working with. Okay? And then you think about this 3rd woman that tried to interfere so that their client wouldn't see you, and you're like, oh shit, that was what she was trying to avoid. Okay. I got mad today at the women organization that told me, "Oh, we're just trying to look for technological solutions for women that to avoid violence and so on." So I got furious at them, like really furious at them, and really mad. But it can also be that they are caught in a situation where you can't fight organized crime or state crime, and what they have to do is to be extremely useless. And it may be that I was taking my rage at the wrong person. It's like maybe they just had to be extremely useless so that we wouldn't have been caught. And if you talk about technology, then they're not talking about kidnapping children from their mothers. And if there's nothing that they can actually do about it, they might just be, all they can do is be completely useless at this point. And it may be that, I kind of have to rethink stuff that I said. Okay? So for you, it's values. Your values, your righteous anger is right, but there's something missing in this equation that make you cooperate with the wrong people. Because Palestine was helping Perseus, I don't remember what's his name, to slaughter basically the woman he raped. Okay, you get it? Okay, so this, when we understand this, we understand why we should think 1,000 times before acting on our urges for as long as Palestina is in Scorpio. This is a note to self, like I actually am repenting something. I actually am going to take down certain things that I said and rethink them, because, hey, I could be doing that, okay? I could be cooperating with the wrong people by saying that. And I'm like, okay, we need to rethink that. So, another thing is how you make your money and how you spend your money. So again, if you're donating an organization, or if you're if you're buying certain products and they tell you, oh, this product is going to give food to the homeless and and you end the humanitarian, the fuel that was sent to Gaza ended up in Hamas. They just started shooting at people again. Okay, and so you really need to be cautious that it could be one of these cases. I just woke up today to realize that, oh, I wasn't making any taxable income in the past 2 or 3 years. And I was like, why is that? I always remember that I was so good in sales, that I was so good in what I do, and people were always impressed with me. And then when I found that something is crooked, I would not be able to operate. It's like, how come this? What happened to you? What happened to you? And I'm like, how come it's my business and my product is good and people are happy? Why is it not happening? And I was like, oh shit! If I would have paid taxes, that would have funded the 7th of October and some other patents. So I'm like, I could be a fortunate loser. It's like, if I had the way to do an alternative to that, that would be great. But since I don't, it's kind of like, well, at least don't be in a position where you pay taxes, because they're going to start you with these taxes and your people. So yeah. Now, and then about how you make your money. So maybe you're thinking about a job, or it's just something that you're righteous about, or you're thinking about the skill, or to do something, and then there's just something missing. You think, oh, that's the right thing to do. And it's kind of like, when I just began to work with essential oils, then in the beginning you gift people things. And I gave someone something that had to do with orange essential oil, and she was allergic to it. So it was a waitress. She was very kind, and she was allergic to it. So she didn't use it, but other people did. So she gave it to the people that could use it. And it's kind of like, that's the kind of things that can happen to you, but maybe perhaps a bit more lethal. Okay, so she wasn't allergic. I wasn't giving her nuts or anything like that. But this is something that can happen. She's allergic to oranges. I was a bit allergic too. I just worked on it, but I wasn't seeing her like patient. And so this is one of the mistakes that can happen in your profession, in what you do. You might mean good, but something, or some synchronicity happens, or something like that if you're doing like magic. Or maybe you did a Scorpio talisman, and Scorpio, the Mars Kazimi talisman, and somebody's pet died. And it's kind of like, you're not to blame for it. It's like, this thing happens, you're human. But also it's kind of like you really have slayed the wrong dragon here. And it can be various degrees of lethality. Because it's Scorpio, it's quite intense. Ascendant Libra. No, Ascendant Libra, we talked about Ascendant Libra. Yes. Ascendant Scorpio. So this is happening in your first house. You are this Athena for the time being. And it's very likely to not be somebody else. Okay, it's not somebody else. With the others, it could be like, oh, your ascendant ruler might be in Scorpio, and then it could be you. But for you, it is you. You really need to think thrice before you act on your urges, because what's the thing is, your urge, your anger is right, but the target is askew. Okay? You want to make sure you understand this now, because for you it can be the most lethal, because you could be the one who's perpetuating the war crime here. Okay, so Ascendant Scorpio, it's not like you've been having an easy time in any way, shape, or form, but the ingress of Athena to your first house can literally mean there is something you're enraged at, and you have every right to be enraged. But the thing that you're angry at is not the thing that actually happened. And what actually happened is who is actually to blame is something that you don't see and might not be able to digest. So you could literally be in these stories like, oh, my, I don't know, the spouse being cheating on me. This whore, I'm going to murder her. And your partner raped someone, okay? Or alternatively, your partner wasn't raping anyone. It was just she wasn't seducing him. Maybe he was chasing her. Maybe he was astrally projecting to her energy. I had thing like that happen to me, and I didn't know who that person is. And then I look and I'm like, they got a ring on. Genuinely, this happened. Like, they got a ring on. I don't know. Okay? Like, it genuinely happened, stuff like that. So you really have to, it doesn't mean your partner raped anybody. It just means that there's just some place in your life where you have every right to be angry, but you completely, and even that is not necessarily through fault of your own, because you're trying to put the veil of ignorance and to be just and to be and to not project on people and to be balanced in your, because Libra is kind of like your 12th house. So you're trying to put everything, into, but there is something that you're not aware of. Okay, in worst case scenarios, you might slaughter some rape victims, but in actual life, it simply means that you're angry at the wrong person. And depending on what you have what planets are in your first house, where is your ruler, might tell us more about the situation. You are the Athena in this story, and as right as you are to be angry, there's just more things in this puzzle that are missing, and they have to do with validating people. They have to do with believing people, and they have to do with something that is a blind spot to you. Okay, because the Athena, the comparison to say, oh, well, Algol is kind of like Indra. Okay, if she would have known about this story, which is likely that she has, because Indra was older than the Greek pantheon. So for Athena, it's like, oh, well, Medusa Gorgon is kind of like Indra, but in a woman. I should just put the veil of ignorance and say, well, she wanted penis so much, she's gonna have her hair turned to snakes. Like, Indra had his vulva turned to this. Like, she was not doing what Indra did. She was not chasing. She was not Indra. She was not a rapist. This is the wrong unit of analysis. You put in the veil of ignorance is good, but your unit of analysis is not good. Okay? The unit of analysis is like you're comparing rape to your husband cheating on someone, which may be a sexually boundary violation of you, okay, if you both agree to be monogamous, but it's not, no. So even if somebody, even like, let somebody did seduce, it's not, they didn't rape your husband or your wife, okay, like, we don't know, yeah, but you know what I mean. And this situation is, you definitely, for sure, there's a chance you slaying the wrong dragon in this situation, okay? So you are the one who needs to be the most cautious not to act on something. If you're doing defense magic, because Scorpio is kind of like occult, hidden magic and deep feelings, then watch my episodes about non-personal, non-specific return to sender, to the original sender, but then you have to be careful because you might hurt your spouse. Okay? Like, if it's a romance thing, you might hurt your spouse. But or to solve, like, to solve this issue, and understand that right now the presence of Palestine does not show you the full picture. You really need to hold your horses until Palestine ingresses to your second house, and then the picture will be clearer, hopefully, okay, or not, okay, but definitely what Palestine shows, there is a blind spot that it seems to be right, but it's not, okay, and this blind spot may have to do with somebody tries to save you from a certain situation or a certain truth, or somebody tries to kind of like, you don't want to deal with that, darling. You don't want to deal with that. You don't know what's actually going on. And the details that you're asking for to know who and what and this, you're not ready to deal with that. You don't want to go there. Because there may be something that is along the lines of either, in worst case scenarios, the Medusa Gorgon story, or even in way milder cases, it's kind of like, let's say your husband's cheating on you, your wife cheating on you, and you're like, oh, this horror of a human being, this third man or this third woman, and it's like, this is a person who literally had their energy invaded. And they're like, oh, is this my twin fool? Ah, no. And then they tried to block the energy. It's like, do you really want to know that? Does it help you? Like, even if it's not like a Medusa Gorgon, like, did you really want to know that? Did you really need to know that? They're not even thinking about this person in this way, and then something happened that they didn't even know it's that person. Like, it's that. Okay? And I keep thinking about romance because of the story of Palestine and so on and so forth. But where is it coming from? I need, like, it can be something completely different. It's going to shared custody, court, real estate, like many, many things. But the analogy is along the line. You're going to miss the analogy because of the presence of Palestine. So most cautious people need to be Scorpio. And Aries, because it's your 8th house. Now Sagittarius, this is your 12th house. 12th house is your blind spot inherently. Anything that goes through there can be your dream state. And for you, it can be the other case. When I talked about Scorpio, and I'm taking the example of cheating again, because that was the original story of Palestina. And when I talk about Scorpio, I said, oh, maybe it's your spouse cheating on you, and you think that they were seduced. And that person is kind of like, how do I clear this energy now that I know that it's not my twin flame? Is there any shield that is somebody coming to rescue me? But for you could be that third party. Why? Because 12th house is your bedroom. And the way to get to you in a way that you're not aware of, and with people that you're not in contact with. I don't remember who wrote that on Twitter. This is a big shout out to a person whose name I don't remember. And they said that 12th house is the place through which your either exes or other people can reach you without being present in the room with you. And this is so true. This is so true. Okay? So you might be that third party where somebody just accesses your energy and you're like, is this the one? And then you're seeing this person is like, it's the same energy. They're leading you there. And it's like, and then what for you can be the case is like, oh, that person, he's married. She is married. Like, why are they monogamous? Monogamous? Oh my God, no. How do I block this? And then you're accusing this person where it's actually your ex trying to take the shape of this innocent person and get into your bedroom, into intimacy with you with the energy of a stranger. It's like, oh, she seems to be attracted to this type. He seems to be attracted to this type. Oh, and they may be right or wrong. And they're like, oh, I should shape shift. And then I come. And then it's like, oh, this works. And now you could be blaming that third party that didn't do anything, that doesn't know about you. They're just married to someone, and maybe he's cheating with someone else, which adds another flavor. It's like, that's them. They did it. They accessed my energy. This is not fair. This is they're cheating on the wife. They did that. It's kind of like, that's your ex shape shifting, darling. That's nothing to do with this stranger. You don't know each other. That's something you don't see, and you can't be transformed throughout this shift. Okay, because Scorpio is also to do with astral sex. I could be literally speaking to you, the people. Okay, you ascendant Sagittarius, this is happening in your 12th house. Somebody may try to access you, and hopefully it's not like a Medusa Gorgon. It can be like joyous astral sex, but you kind of like, or unfortunately it can be the case that somebody violates your boundaries. It's like, it's this person. And that was shape shifting going on. Watch my video about non-specific defense and returns to sender. Please, right now, because of what's going on with the world and because people are doing stuff with ritual sacrifice and beheading of children, please do not use return to sender in the sense that just send them what they sent back. But please emphasize that I don't want children to be hurt. I don't want other people to be hurt. Because like children didn't do us anything, and send blessings to the people around the person that are not involved in them sending anything back to you. Okay, so like please do that. I even go so much as saying, if they need to die, so let them die without suffering. Because I just look to solve a problem, not to torture anybody. And if they send in torture, there's no reason for me to torture them back. If they need to die, that's the only way that I'm okay with that, and I allow that. But I ask for this to be like the dignity, or it's just humane death and easy death. As I would want to die humanely and easily, not because right now in the world is like really crazy stuff going on. Really crazy stuff going on involving children, involving torture. We don't want to get into this spiritual warfare. So I might update my video, but definitely for you, it's defending your boundaries. Do not be tempted to think that hospitals or mental hospitals or psychiatrists or psychologists may be the savior of the day. They might be the person doing this where you're not aware of it. And you want to look at where Mars is in your chart, but right now Mars is crossing your 12th too. So until it ingresses to your first house, it's going to be very difficult. And understand that it's going to be around this realm and the other realm, okay? It can be like a jail situation or a hospital situation. You're blaming someone, it's the wrong person that you're blaming, and so on and so forth. But it can absolutely be very literally astral sex, where your boundaries are violated, or maybe you're trying to initiate astral sex with someone and poof. But because it is your 12th house, it's very likely that you're not the initiator here. Maybe I'm wrong, but kind of like it's the blind spots. You know what I mean? And so, unless you have like a stellium in 12 or something. So the thing is that the boundaries are being crossed. It doesn't necessarily mean a rape or something, or spiritual rape or anything like that. It can just simply be astral sex that you kind of feel good with, but it's kind of like, hey, that's not what I meant there to happen. And you can be rightfully enraged at the absolutely wrong person. You need to hold this situation. Okay, the 12th act is asking us to be compassionate, to hold the space of doubt, and to accept loss as this is just, loss. Okay, if it was something that was okay with you, and then you're like, oh shit, this person is, or you could have an affair with someone in the physical, and you think, they are available, they want a serious relationship, and then they're married to 13 people, and it's kind of like, oh, I'm so angry at them, I'm so this, I'm so that, and it's kind of like, you know um, so maybe in this case you are angry at the wrong person, or you may be angry at one of their wives, and it's like, it's kind of like, did you know 15 of us? We're a cult. He was trying to join you to a cult. Okay? This is true. It's kind of weird thing that you didn't even think about. Just pop in. And it requires a lot of humility, and it requires kind of understanding, like, that's lost. I'm not like, we're not going to have what we thought we're going to have. I'm not going to have this great thing with this person. Or whoever did that, if it was actual boundary violation, sexual boundary violation, I don't know. But I can still defend my boundaries by, I don't know, whether it's working with garlic or, and again, with return to sender, please just don't make it a usual return to sender. We are at war, okay? And there are all kinds of, like, those things that people you would think are psychotics they're speaking about, like surveillance and da 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 da. Those things are actually true in times of war. And a lot of the things that you would think, oh, this person must be imagining, is probably, I understand, it's probably not. So yeah, ascendant Capricorn. So here we come with brighter, lighter. This is your 11th house, and this is your social agenda. So you could be one of those righteous activists that's just missing a nuance that could be quite triggering to the people you're trying to represent. So you could be kind of like around the Me Too era, there was a person who was, I think she had a Capricorn sun actually. She was studying law, and she was working for a psychologist in research that was is a key figure in kidnapping children and putting them with the rapists, pedos that sometimes are their fathers. And this is something that I know for sure. For too many cases, it's connected into one. And she didn't know that. I didn't know this either. And she basically thought an event that I was talking about on Facebook during the Me Too era was another event, and she basically testified against me on an event that she wasn't in, and she was sure she's doing the right thing, and I'm this crazy person. And I was like, you were actually thinking you're doing the right thing, that I'm this crazy person. You're studying law. And I'm like, well, I can do nothing but bless you with discernment. And then during the Me Too era, she was like having this Me Too campaign, which is when I exploded at her. Me Too campaign, and so you could be one of those people. Okay, she ended up working for someone who's extremely corrupt. I believe she's got out of there by now. It's a blind spot, but the damage is so intense. You don't mean to do harm to somebody, you actually mean to do good. And she's like, we were very concerned about you. We're like, how about believing me? How about believing me? She was afraid that I would kill myself. I was like, how about believing me? Why? What? Like, I had no interest to go against the person that I was talking about. How about believing me? Okay, but this is a blind spot for a person, and you need to understand that you could end up being this person who is having this huge social agenda. It can have to do with women, and even women survivor sexual assault, and then there's this one person that you think are crazy, and they're like, you could be putting their life at risk. This one should put my life at risk. So and I wasn't even suing anybody. So the thing is that you just have this blind spot. And it's very difficult because it is a blind spot and it's your agenda. It's a conference, it's a talk that you give, it's a conference that you take part in. It's a campaign that you raise funds to. Okay, it's there. So just take it, with a grain of salt. We all need to. Like, I have things that I need to think about that I just did this morning. Okay, so take it with a grain of salt and see, the see that you don't see is just the important thing now. Ascendant Aquarius. Ascendant Aquarius, Scorpio is your 10th house. So this is your career, you as a boss, your public life, relationship with one of the parents, so or both. And here again, there is a collision of facts. So because this is a 10th house position, you might be asked to do something about this. You might be asked to interfere and you make the wrong decision. And again, it's so important for you to be right, but you're blind to something and you make the wrong decision. Okay? Which may eventually be the case of how Pallas Athena eventually got to wear the pendant of Medusa Gorgon, because like, we don't know the story. Maybe she eventually realized that she did the wrong thing, and then she got to wear this pendant. Okay, she got to wear the head of that she killed wrongfully, and that became a protective. Okay, because there's a compassion, there's forgiveness, there's a bird eye view. There's this terrible injustice, and you're asked, to see beyond everything, beyond the greatest hatred in the world. And so you could be committing a decision that is beyond despiceful by having a blind spot. So you, again, because just like Scorpio ascendant, you are either it is committed against you by your boss or your parent. Okay, and in this situation, it can be a lethal one, so you want to be using Medusa Gorgon talisman. You want to be using 22nd lunar dimension as well. Okay, we don't have the 22 degree or something like that, but you just want to make sure that you are protected. And then you might want to consult with Medusa Gorgon on any decision that you make on Pallas Athena's behalf. Okay, to avoid the case that she discovers, that we haven't never seen that she discovers, because the history is written by the patriarchs, that she has humiliated, slaughtered, and beheaded the wrong person, and for that, wearing her, and is wearing her head right now. So she's like many people who have been to atrocities would say she was worse than the rapist. And we all are susceptible to be this figure now. So you also have to be both cautious to protect your head, but also to consult Medusa Gorgon on every decision that you're tempted to take on the behalf of Pallas Athena. Might be a good advice now. That's it. This is all we have. So as for the lighter, brighter things, so you could be having experiences of, increased artistic skill, increased beauty even, because Pallas Athena was very beautiful. You might be sexually attractive or sexually magnetic, but that's just a transit. She's mainly about those righteous deep stuff, especially in Scorpio. And what you see is just might be transformed in this situation. Okay, so yeah, that is so, and I hope that you have been seeing this as helpful. I'll be seeing you in the next episode. Bye bye, and thanks Dima War for noticing that Pallas Athena ingressed into Scorpio.